Welcome back to Steve Robb Reviews. On the desk behind me here, I've got an interesting setup, and this is going to be a continuation of a video I did a little while ago about using a battery maintainer. And I'm going to take one of these and I'm going to mount them underneath my truck permanently. But there's some things you really should consider when you're thinking about mounting it permanently, because there's designated units out there that are called on-board battery maintainers, and none of these are them, and I didn't really consider buying one of them because I thought what I got is better. But generally, I'm not interested in charging my battery up. That's not what the whole idea behind a battery maintainer is. Just to park my vehicle and plug it in and have it maintain the battery, not charging it up all the time. So the unit that I bought, yes, I did buy a new one, and I'm going to show you on the bench here what I bought and the differences between them, and then I'm going to point out to you which kind not to buy. Because surprisingly, yeah, there's a lot of these units out there that you should not even consider for a permanent installation. So let's take a look at the bench here, and let's take a look at the different ones that I have. I'm going to take you out to my shed, and I'm going to show you the setup that I have, that I maintain some batteries over the winter time. And the reason why I bought the new unit is, well, because the ones inside my shed, they've been running great all this time. And there's a little bit of differences between the Deltran or the Battery Tender Junior and this other unit that I bought. And so let's take a look and let's see the differences. Okay, so let's start off with the Battery Tender Junior here. And I saved everything, that it came originally with, but I only ever really used the unit like this with the battery clips. But the first thing I'd like to mention is Deltrans does not make anything cheesy with their clips or anything like that. They all seem to be fastened on nice, and like none of these are meant to be suited for, I believe it is IP64 and IP65 dustproof and waterproof. They're not designed for that, right? So there's other units on there, out in the market that are rated for that. But this is what it came with. And the one thing I noticed, it's fused with the battery clips, using the battery clips, or if you're using the ring eyelets, and so you just leave this fastened to your battery, and then you can unplug it from the battery clips and plug it in here when you want to use it. And that's a good idea. But this part here, I don't really care for too much. I only use this style when I'm using it indoors, because look at the plug on it, right? You'd have to plug an extension cord in there. So this is the one that I've been using in the last video. I really like this unit, and the main thing about picking one of these units is when you plug it in, you want it just to go back to the original settings, so you don't have to fool around with the buttons all the time, right? And some units, yeah, you have to really do your research, because some of them you got to play around with the buttons all the time, where if you just want to have a quick connector, plugging it in, well, you got to lift the hood every time and reset. So I mean, this is another problem too. But on the C-Tech unit here, well, this is far above most of them. And I mean, the way that they've connected everything together, with their solder joints and strain relief. And of course, they have a fuse connector on the clips. And here's the ringtail or ring connectors that go on your battery, and it's fused as well. So now we get on to the unit that I just purchased, and it's this MOTOPOWER thing, and it's got the fuse, and it's got the the connector here that just go on your battery permanently, and no fuse on this one though. This is for the battery clips, and it seems to be in there pretty good. It's crimped and soldered, and this is the unit here, but there is no fuse at this end, and I don't know why. So I'm going to take you out to the shed in a second, but I've got this unit, but it is not the Plus, it is just the regular one. And the only thing that this thing does is it lights up. It comes with instructions, And the instructions are actually quite well written, and all I wanted it to do was just plug it in, turn it on, and go, and that's it. I didn't want to have to fiddle around with settings and all that. Now this one here is like multi-step process of charging, and you know what, I haven't a clue what this thing actually does over time, but the other one I have has been working good all this time, and I thought, you know what, I'll get another one of these, because this was like 35 bucks. So let's go out to the shed and I'll show you the setup I have for charging my batteries. Okay, so let's just go in the shed here and leave the door open. I'll turn the light on. But this is the setup here, and you probably can't see it, but there is like a green light on there. And this is my older battery tender from Deltrans on there. And the whole idea is I just charge up these two batteries. Now this one here is from my diesel log splitter, and that's been on there for years using this 800 milliamp battery maintainer. And you know, just less than 1 amp is fine. I mean, I don't need to be charging anything. All I'm doing is just maintaining the battery. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this one in, and I'm going to show you how you have to actually do your research first before you can pick one of these units, because not all of these are designed to actually be mount permanently, because, well, they'll just destroy your battery. So let's take a look at that next. Okay, so let's do some testing. But the first thing I want to say is the small little unit out there that I had in there charging my diesel log splitter battery, well, when I unplug that unit, it completely shuts down. And that's the difference between some units that are not really suited for this and some units that are better suited for different applications, where you're just going to put it on and leave the cord on, and then if you're going to start up your vehicle or use it at all, well, you have to take everything off, and that's not what I wanted. So I'll take you over to the bench here and I'll show you the difference between them. Okay, so let's just take a look at the difference here, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. So the unit is not plugged in, there's no lights on, there's nothing going on. But if we come over here, so I brought the battery in, if I come over here and I just plug it in, guess what? You have it lit up. And that's the problem. So you can't mount one of this style where, you know, the unit is going to actually light up, or you'll have a digital readout or all that kind of stuff, because when it's not plugged into your electrical supply, it's going to be drawing current out of your battery, and that's not a good thing. So it just counteracts the whole idea of keeping your battery charged up. This type of unit will discharge your battery when it's not actually plugged into your electrical supply. So the unit inside my shed that's charging everything up is exactly like this, except this is just a little upgrade from the last one. And I have to actually test to make sure that this one here, well, when I put it on the battery, it's going to light up or not. And if it lights up, well, I can't use it. But the other one, when I disconnect it, yeah, it doesn't stay lit up. So let's take a look and let's see. I'll have to put the battery cable clips on there, and I'll bring you back. Okay, so here we are right here. You see I've got it plugged in, and if we come over here, you could see it's all lit up green. So for this to be acceptable for an on-board permanent mounting, well, you'd have to unplug the cord and make sure that the light doesn't come on, right? So when you want to plug in your vehicle and not have to lift your hood, and I'm going to show how that's done in the future, how I'm going to wire all this. But all we have to do is just unplug it, and the light has gone out. And that's exactly what you want. Now, I did try it with this one here, and this is the exact same. So this is acceptable. This one kind is acceptable, but if you buy one that's got like all kinds of digital display and you have it unplugged, but you have it hooked up to your battery and it still has lights on here, well, that's just gonna, you know, just discharge your battery. But what I am going to do is I'm going to use this connector set from the battery tender on this unit rather than this one, because to me this is a little cheesy. But you know what, it's less than an amp, so I mean, what do you need? The only reason why I prefer this style here is look how nice the ends are molded, you know, and they're sealed in there, and I think it's a far superior idea. But yeah, these would be acceptable too, you know. But so yeah, I think this particular unit here is going to serve my needs well. It is not dust proofed and waterproofed and all that kind of stuff, but where I'm going to put it, I have no worries about it at all. Okay, so in the future I am going to show you how this is all attached to my vehicle, and I'm not going to have to lift the hood or have a cord come through the grill or any of that stuff. I'm going to have a nice little connector that plugs in down below where I can just plug it in and don't have to worry about it, because this unit here, there's no need to press buttons and, you know, reset everything and do everything, because if you take a look at a lot of the instructions on all of them, it'll say that it saves the settings from the first original time, and that's what this does. And most of them all do that as well. Same with the C-Tech, it did that as well. So you never have to fool around with it. But there are some out there, every time you unplug it, well, you're going to have to lift the hood and go through and select what kind of battery you have, because this does all the different batteries, right? What kind of battery you have, and you know, this is far superior to just, you know, fooling around with it all the time. You really don't want to. It's not like I'm taking this vehicle and I'm parking it in my garage for the winter. No, all I'm doing is I'm plugging it in so that if I want to use the vehicle maybe every week or every 2 weeks, I can unplug it, start it up, and drive away. So I mean, it's not like one of these units that, well, I would just put, you know, in my garage for the whole winter for storing a vehicle, because really all you really have to do is just do what I've been doing all these years, is just put the battery clips on and you know, lower the hood and just leave it there till the spring, right? Well, in my situation, I'm using it because my battery will drain really well, like to the point where after 2 or 3 weeks of sitting in minus 20 degrees, well, the truck's just not going to want to start too good. I'm just going to, you know, have my alternator just go full blast, you know, and what are you doing? You're wearing out your starter, starting it on a low charge, and you're also wearing out your alternator by just, you know, letting it go full blast and full charge until it can charge up the battery again, right? So it's best just to use one of these and keep it charged all the time. So thanks for joining me here today. If you haven't seen this channel before, you're welcome to subscribe. Come back again, and let's have some more interesting things that I find interesting. Hopefully you do too. Cheers.